Hey, what's going on, welders? Natalia Cortez, Let It Shine Welding. So one of the biggest things that new welders have an issue with or getting adjusted to is their new view, their new sight.
So with whichever process we're using, whether it's MIG welding, TIG welding, stick welding, or we're using a cutting process with the oxy-fuel torch or plasma cutter, we have to understand what we're working with.
Those are all real bright lights. So in order for us to be able to see what we're doing, our welding hood has different shades.
Every process is not going to have the same shade. So look at your chart that usually comes with your welding hoods that have recommended settings for different processes and different shades.
That help us to adjust our eyes so that we're able to tackle that bright light, look right into it. With the different shades, it helps us to zone in to the puddle, what's going on around the puddle without burning up our eyes and hurting our eyes in the future. Welders have a hard time staying straight with their welds. A lot of times they come up and say, "Hey Nate, man, I was welding this coupon and I started off good, but once I got going, I lost track of my line. I couldn't stay straight, so I went off, and I got inconsistent with my weld. I had to stop, restart, all that good stuff." But in this video, that's what we're going to cover. I'll give you guys some tips on how to properly use your shades, and also a few different techniques and tricks that I can share with you guys that's going to help y'all identify certain things within your weld, within your weld coupon that you're welding. Identify those things to help you guys stay straighter and more consistent with your welds. So let's get right into it.
On your welding hood, go ahead and try out all those different shades from the lowest to the highest. You want to find a setting where you can see exactly what's going on within your keyhole, whether you're cutting or welding, but not too dark where that's the only thing you can see. You want to be able to see around that keyhole or puddle as well. When it comes to TIG welding, one of the biggest things that helps me out is my actual filler metal. So before I strike that arc, I line up my filler metal aligned with the joint that I'm trying to weld out. And once I strike my arc, I simply follow my filler metal that's already lined up with my weldment. Something else that helps out with any process is the actual workpiece that you're working with. Use that to your advantage. So for example, on this lap joint, I'm using that top edge of that lap joint along with my puddle. If I see that top edge getting eaten up by the top edge of my puddle, that lets me know that I'm staying consistent, I'm staying straight. Another thing, you can barely see it, but I'm leaning my filler metal up against that lap joint and allowing me to hit that top lap, pushing that filler metal right into that puddle, lining it up perfectly with my tungsten. On this T-plate, I'm doing the same thing where my T-plates meet up. I'm pushing my filler metal right up against that, which only gives me one option, one direction to go into, which is right in the center of my puddle. So as I move my TIG torch forward, my filler metal is already lined up against those plates, and I simply feed it right in the center of that puddle, pull it out of the way, come back the same manner, push it up against the T-plates, sliding it into my puddle as I take my steps. I've mentioned dry runs before, and I stick to those dry runs with all my welds. So the main thing is you want to visualize your weld before you actually hit that trigger, strike that arc. So that way you know exactly where the top of that puddle needs to be at, the bottom of the puddle, the sides of the puddle, where you're going to be pointing that wire at or moving that electrode, tungsten, filler wire, whether you're going to switch up from one technique to another. So before you start your weld, look at your coupon, look at what you're working with. And that way, when you start up, as you're doing your dry run, you want to be telling yourself, I want to be pushing my wire here, and I want to see my puddle, the top of my puddle here, the bottom of my puddle right here. And you want to keep that going with your sight going back and forth in front of your puddle, behind the puddle, contact to work distance. We have a lot of things going on here, and they're all important, and we have to pay attention to every single thing and understand that puddle. As I'm doing my dry runs, I want to talk myself through the weld. I want to visualize my weld. So right here, I'm telling myself I want to point that wire right on that top toe of that bottom weld, and I want to see the top edge of my puddle hitting that vertical wall. Once I have the width and the height of that puddle established, that sets my speed. That puddle tells me everything I need to know, if I need to slow down, speed up, or possibly change up my technique. In this 2F, for example, if I don't see my top of my puddle on that vertical plate, that's either letting me know that I'm getting undercut or cold roll if I don't see that puddle on that top plate. So we have to understand what our puddle is trying to tell us. Our puddle tells us everything we need to know with what's going on within our weld, what we need to adjust, and you have a split second to make that adjustment. I had a chance to visit with Dr. Welds, a fellow welder that I've known for years now, and I actually had a chance to work with him at a schoolhouse years ago. Great individual. If you haven't checked him out, check him out on Instagram under Dr. Welds. Always has new videos, tips, tricks. Also, you can catch him on weld.com. They're always putting out great content to help new welders, experienced welders. So check them out. So again, use what you have. Allow that puddle to tell you what you need to do. If you need to speed up, slow down, change your technique. Also, use what you have in front of you, your welds, your coupon. Use those edges, use those joints to help you stay straighter and more consistent. I hope you guys got something out of this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share on the video, subscribe. God bless. Let it shine, baby.